So this book is just, everybody needs this book. If a person had $2 million and wanted to put it somewhere, they wouldn't even know where to put it. The average person, if they had $2 million and say, where can I put this money, they wouldn't know. But by reading this book, you can know a safe place to put your money. This book tells you to, if you're investing, never risk your principal. And that's rule number 1. And rule number 2 is never disobey rule number 1. So if you got money, the rule is never never risk your principal. Now, you know, we got all kind of money places, mutual funds, IRA accounts, annuities, and all of these things. And that's great. This book helps you to let you know where to put money and make sure that you're not risking your principal. And if we're not educated, we'll put our money in the wrong place for someone else to manage it instead of us being our own banker. This book teaches you how to be your own banker.
Wow.
To do the same things that the banks do.
Solomon, who is the richest man in the world, said, there's one evil I see in the world, there's another evil I see in the world, and it's that men and women, they put their money in risky investments, they end up losing it all, and then there's nothing left over to pass on to one's son. Now, banking has been around for over 5,000 years, and the principles in the bank, like Fred has learned, the principles of the banker is never lose your principal. One of God's principles, he calls us the steward. So he calls us to have stewardship over the money that he's given us. But the world trains us to always pass our stewardship responsibility off to somebody else to manage it. Oh, they're smarter than me. Oh, they've got a degree from a college. Oh, they work for this bank and they know much more about this area that I know nothing about. Well, if you know nothing about an area, don't put your money there.
Yeah.
Bottom line. And number 2, going back to the idea of being a steward, God said, look, I give you the power to get wealth. So once you get the wealth, once you have the resources in your hand, God's going to give you the creative ideas to go put those resources to work. Banks learned a long time ago that their primary function and focus is to lend but not invest. When a bank opens up, they're given a charter from the state and the federal government to lend. They're not given a charter to invest. Why lending? Lending to a bank is a contractually guaranteed rate of return on their money. So if a bank's not sowing to the wind, why are 98% of all Americans trained to sow to the wind?
Okay.
If a bank doesn't defer interest into the unknown future via a 401k or an IRA or a SEP, then why in the world do they tell every other person in society to do it? Okay. See, here's the point that Fred called me up and he said, Jeff, I was learning something in your book. He told me he learned the principles that God laid out principles in his word. And you're either on one side of the principle or you're on the other side of the principle. Meaning that in order for someone to reap the rewards from following God's financial principle, somebody else has to be breaking the principle. Because wealth is never lost. Remember that. That's a key to your financial literacy. Wealth is never lost. It's only transferred. So, watch. Is wealth transferring to you or always away from you? Because wealth is never lost, it's only transferred. So when you put your money in places that don't have you being the steward and you having control over it, guess what? You're breaking a stewardship principle. Bottom line.
Instead, plotting brings prosperity, but hasty speculations brings poverty.
Poverty, yeah.
Poverty, right, that's right. But these quick fixes, everybody want to give you say they're going to give you a big return in a few days. Those are, you know, the Bible says, be aware of get rich quick schemes. Proverbs warns us of that.
That's
to
right.
be aware of these quick fixes.
And Proverbs warns us about, you know, putting it away and believing that someday it'll be there for us in the future. Just hang on through the highs and lows and the ups and downs, and it'll all be there for you someday when you need it. Meanwhile, somebody else is using your money
Yes.
to their benefit. See, can I
You're
tell...
using your money to make the money.
That's right. I want you to write this on your refrigerator. There's one pool of money in the world. One. Now, there's multiple access points to that pool. And you and I on the road of life have been trained to save and invest in the future. On the right-hand side of that road, we invest into what we call banking products. Now remember, there's only one pool of the money in the world. And as you're investing in all these different types of banking products and putting your money away in somebody else's hands, you all of a sudden discover that you need to buy some things. So where do they send you to go buy those things? The other side of the street, called retail banking. So then they tell you you need to borrow for the mortgage, you need to borrow to buy the car, you need to borrow for the credit card, you need to borrow for the student loan. And they train you and teach you that that's a game of leverage. But it's actually financial bondage. Why? Because they're lending you money from the exact same pool that you've been saving and investing into. So therefore, they've taught you how to borrow your own money back to yourself and pay them a markup on it every single minute of your life. And it's your own money from the one pool of money that exists in this world. And if you can understand that, your life financially will be changed forever.